It's kind of hard to tell because I always try new techniques and style, but I mostly use oil and brush on canvas. Um, I had for a few years that I always try to get as realistic as possible. Um, I can't say that I'm there. I'm not there yet. So I always try different techniques and style, but mostly oil, brush, and realism art. Like I usually do realism art, or sometimes surrealism, but that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, a lot of these paintings are definitely super realistic, especially the funeral piece. You know, it just reaches out to you and you feel like you're there in the painting. I think
Thank you.
that's so cool. Um, who or what inspires you?
Ooh, well, artists. um, Everything that I'm going through in my life, basically, my past, the way I grew up, the place I grew up. I grew up in Jerusalem, in Israel. It's a very intense city. It's funny because when you go there, you don't really think about get inspired. Oh, that's amazing here. That's crazy, or whatever is that. But only when you're moving out, you're looking back and you're like, that's a crazy town. I got inspired by the place I grew up. Looking back, like when I go to visit, I'm like, that's the whole thing here. It's a piece of art, you know. I for many years I was painting my experience in the military, and I'm trying to explain my story by art. One, because obviously I paint, this is what I do. The second thing, I'm not a writer. I'm not, that's this is my way to express my feelings and what I think and how I see things, or how I saw things actually. I get inspired by other artists as well, as far as techniques and stuff like that. There is hundreds of artists I can get inspired by. It's not there is one specific artist that I really follow by. It's not. I just go to Instagram or Google or something. I'm just looking on different artwork and then I get an ideas for different techniques and stuff like that. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. And you said most of it comes from growing up and where you were raised and those experiences. Do you ever find that it's hard to fully express into art what you're feeling? Do you ever feel like it's difficult? Like, oh, I can't really get this all out, or oh, I have to start over, that's not what I'm feeling? Or is it typically pretty easy for you just to...
No, it was hard. It was kind of hard to explain through the artwork because not every person will feel what you feel. Like they might gonna take it in a different way. So usually in art shows, you get a lot of questions. People asking, "Why do you do that? Why do you do that?" And they tell me what they're feeling about the art, and sometimes it's different from what I'm trying to explain, which is okay. That's what's most, that's what interesting about art. Like every person is accepting that in a different way, which I understand it. I have to say, in the beginning, I didn't get it. Like I was really trying hard to make someone think about what I think, but then I realized that, let's just let him go with his thoughts and let him think whatever he think. And I always can explain, but let's put it that way. It's for me at least, it's not easy to make someone feel what you feel for that specific piece of art. I think funeral is a great example for that. I got a lot of in the first 1 year, I got a lot of emails and messages on social media, on Facebook and Instagram as well, that from Israeli people. Those are Israeli soldiers that they're asking, why do you paint crying soldiers? It doesn't make them look good, you know. They look like crying babies. And I'm sorry. So the explanation is, you know what? It's actually, I actually think it's amazing to see a soldier crying, because you see the humanity in him. You know, he's not a robot. Everybody's crying. Everybody can get sad. You know, and that's a humanity, and that's actually showing that those people they're human. You know, if your friend is getting killed, you're crying. It's gonna make sense. So people take it in different ways sometimes, but that's what is all art about, you know. Every person see a different thing. It's fine, it's okay. But funeral created a lot of questions, and some people didn't like to see that, you know. But it's a feelings, you know. I have few friends who got killed, and I want to paint my feeling, which this is my feeling, and some people don't like to see it because they want to look like we're strong, we're not crying. Well, we all crying.
Mm-hmm. And when you started off, are those your actual friends in the painting?
No.
No.
No. I actually got this painting. A friend sent me that painting. Basically, is a real picture of real Israeli soldiers crying in a funeral from a different unit that I don't know of. I don't know them. Like, that's the real people. I changed a little bit the faces. Obviously, there's many changes in that painting, but the real picture came from a different funeral, but also an Israeli soldier got killed. I felt related to it. I felt related to the story. I'm familiar with the story, but I'm not familiar with the actual people.
Right. And how was painting funeral therapeutic for you with dealing all of what you dealt with going through the war? How did you let go of that past pain through painting this piece?
What happened is after when I finished the military, after 4 years, a little bit over 4 years, I left Israel. Not because of that, by the way, but I left Israel. Maybe it is actually. If we'll go deeper, and we'll try to find out why I left Israel. Maybe because of that. But I went to travel for a while, for a few months, and then I came to LA to a family. Started to paint. For a few years, I was painting, and I was working, and I had a life. Kind of normal life, but never watched news, never read the newspaper, don't even talk to people from the military, didn't really keep in touch with people. I was kind of hiding everything, didn't want to hear about war or the military or politics and stuff like that. I was disgusted by that. I hate that. Like, every time somebody put news in front of me, even like Fox News, it doesn't have to be Israeli news, I was getting away. Like, didn't want to deal with that. When I started to paint funeral, that was the first time that, since I left Israel, since I finished the military actually, that I was dealing with the thoughts of the pain. Never dealt with the pain before. So the whole process, this painting took me 6 months, and for 6 months I was thinking about, like, you're painting that, and the only thing you think about is memories. It's gonna force me to deal with that, you know. for I would say 5-6 years, I was hiding that. I was like pushing that away, and then I just dealt with that once while I was painting that. Friends who got killed in the military, I remember the funerals. I remember how almost everybody crying. It's pretty much what it is.
Mm-hmm. And this is oil on canvas?
It's oil on canvas. There is a texture on it if you get close. It's just each little dot, you can touch it. It's just one by one.
Wow. And this took you 6 months?
Yeah.
Is that the longest painting has taken you?
Almost. I had the next one is took a little bit longer.
Wow.
Yeah, like almost 7. Yeah, a little longer than that.
Do you ever get impatient? You say, I just want to finish it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Is there any symbolism in this? I noticed that there's is that the official?
It's official sign for Golani Brigade fighter. If you had that specific sign here, meaning you went through all the courses and all the training to be a fighter.
Okay.
To be a warrior, basically.
Can you explain this face? Because it seems to be he's the only one not crying.
You know, sometimes you're about to cry, but you hold it like so strong not to show that you're crying, you know? And that's pretty much what he's doing. Lots of soldiers, sometimes they want to cry, but with the uniform and everything, you feel like you gotta be a man, you know? You
Right.
can't show tears, so you hold it very strong, but it's another way to deal with, you know, pain or crying. Feelings.
Are these all faces that you've seen in yourself as well?
I could say so, yeah. Yeah.
So you feel connected to these men?
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And they don't represent any one particular person, right?
No.
These are just kind of symbolism.
Well, those symbols are the symbols for an officer. Like, he's a mature soldier. He's a mature soldier. He's an officer. Those are his soldiers. I feel more related because of the symbols, obviously, to that guy right here. He's the main of the picture. I was an officer when David died. So I do feel kind of more related to, because of the time when I was at the military. I was an officer, so I think that's why.
You were trying to push it away for so long, and then when you were painting funeral, it helped you, or it reminded you throughout the whole time of the past experience.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it was not a plan to push it away or right now to start dealing with that. It just happened. Like, I just didn't want to watch news, didn't want to deal with anything got to do with a war, politics, military, Israel, or any conflict out there. Just didn't want to hear about that. Just wanted a life without these things. But when I started to paint funeral, which was the first painting of the series, I start thinking about it and constantly over and over and over and over. And it's funny. And the process of Unbreakable, this is the name of the collection. In the process of Unbreakable, I got in contact with my friends from the military. I started to be in touch with them. Many things came back to me in a different way. Like, now I can talk about it. I can think about it. It doesn't. Obviously, I do feel the pain, but the actual work on Unbreakable opened the gate to dealing with the memories. I guess to push it away was not a a good solution. It was a temporary solution.
Why do you feel you were trying to push it away and not see the news or
You know,
think?
well, sometimes when you're going through something, you don't want to think about it. You just don't want to deal with that. I think it's a very normal thing to do. It's just, I don't like it. I don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna push it away and I'm gonna do something else. It's the easiest way to deal with pain, I think.
Right. So when you embarked on this collection, did it help you to deal with it better? Like from starting when you started that collection and on, were you able to deal with that sort of thing?
Changed that my totally perspective about the whole thing. Like I even look at my past in a different way. Definitely helped me. It's now I feel it helped me. I didn't know it will be a medicine. It was not a plan. I didn't plan. It was not like, oh, I'm gonna do that specific art show, and I will. Can we stop for a second? Mm-hmm. The cubes, the shadows, the shadows of their clothing. Mm-hmm. It's basically two kids, 6 years old, 4, 5 years old, playing cubes at a secured room when basically Israel was bombing. And I remember myself at the same positions, playing with my brother with the gas masks. Israel was bombing by Iraq. There was a war in 1994. I was 12 years old actually. Those a little bit younger, but I remember myself like with a gas mask. And sounds weird, but that was a reality back then.
Wow. So this is from real life experiences. This
Yeah,
right here.
definitely real life experience. It's crazy, That's crazy. It's not easy to breathe through the mask. I remember my mom used to hate that mask because it used to ruin her blown, like her style.
Yeah.
So she used to argue with my father about like, no, I don't want to put the mask. Yeah, you have to put the mask. Okay, all your kids with the mask. It was kind of funny, yeah.
The blocks are everything else in the painting is
Gray.
Yeah, and the blocks are the only.
Yeah.
It has life. Why did you choose that? The blocks have so much color.
Because it's a game into, it's like the blocks is the game, right? It's the kind of the only positive thing that are in the picture, which this is bring a positive reality to the actual picture, because it's all like kids with gas masks. It doesn't look good. It's not normal, right? But the blocks bring the reality and the positive thing about that painting.
Very like childlike innocence too.
Yeah.
All that around you.
They don't even know that, we didn't even know that it's not normal. We thought, okay, a war, all right, it's okay.
A normal thing.
Yeah. The process just made me think about it and deal with that. And the only thing I thought about when I was painting that is my memories. And I start to, okay, the next painting, what is it going to be about? And then the ideas came very fast because everything came back to me so quick. Sometimes it's was not easy to think about those things, and I got in contact with the family of my friends that got killed, and they saw the artwork, and we got in touch, and one day one of the families came over to LA just to travel, and then we met, and things just the whole past came back to me, and I realized that I'm dealing right now with the reality, which is the pain and what I went through, and all of my service that I was trying to pushed away came back basically, and basically the art made me go back.
What sort of memories did it bring back?
Good, bad, sad, everything. It just mixed feelings of everything. There isn't one specific. It's just everything together. I would say, yeah, it's kind of hard to describe exactly what kind of feelings, because just all, like, sometimes I will cry at the studio, my I will have tears while I was painting, and sometimes it will bring like very happy thoughts and memories, and sometimes I felt like I want to go back there, like to meet those guys and to be with them and to hug them and just I think it depends about what exactly was the story about, was the scene about, funeral is also mixed feelings. Today I will be happy. I will be happy to know that Israeli soldiers crying when their friends are dying. I will be happy from the fact that I know they're humans. They're not like robots. It's their friend. But in other thought, I would like. I don't want to see crying soldiers. Like, it's not something you want to see. It's very hard to see something like that. So that's why I'm saying it's mixed feelings.
So would you say this collection helped you really get in touch with the way you were feeling? Help you really to get in touch with your emotions and let yourself just feel everything you're feeling without having to ignore it?
Yeah.
And just deal with it.
Yeah, I realized it was a great solution, and a great. I didn't know it will, as I said before. I didn't know it's going to bring everything back. I didn't know it will be a medicine. I didn't know it will help me to get over that. It was not a plan, but definitely yes. I think it did a job.
So you're thankful.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of soldiers and veterans that they don't know how to deal with their pain, and they take medicines, and who knows what they're doing. I can be the dealing with that could be very bad
Right.
process.
And the suicide rate and the amount of PTSD that these veterans and people who fought in the war feel is very high today all around the world. Would you say that this collection is meant to help those people?
Definitely. Well, look, I'm not a big expert why people commit suicide, but usually, from my understanding, comes from depressia, and depressia is a disease that there's a bunch of different ways to work on, and some people taking care of depression, like they take care of their depression by medicine, by psychiatrists, psychologists, and therapists, and different doctors, and some people just take drugs, some people paint, some people dance, some people sing, some people making documentaries, movies. Every person is dealing with that kind of a disease in a different way. I think creating art and using that art as a medicine on you, this is the best medicine ever, right? Like you are the good case scenario here. I wish that every person that has a depression could do art in order to resolve it. Definitely. I think art can help. It's another way to express your feelings. Once you admit that you have a problem, that you have a depression, or you have a pain, or because you don't call it depression all the time. Sometimes you have a depression, but you don't know it's a depression. The fact that you're hiding things, it's some kind of a depression. Right. You don't want to deal with that. So it's not that I was sitting at home and crying and getting upset and I was up in it. No, I had a normal life, but I pushed away 4.5 years, maybe the most important 4.5 years in my life. So I don't know if there is a name to it. I don't know if it's called depression, but what the art helped me deal with that. And for your question, I definitely think that these things can help a lot of young and older people to deal with their depression, to express their feelings somehow by taking pictures, taking videos, painting, sketching, dancing, or I have a problem with medicines myself. I don't like medicines. I don't take medicines. I don't like the chemicals in that. I don't believe in that. It's not that I chose art because of that. It's just another thing that I'm grateful that I didn't need to take. I was always painting. I always, even when I was, since I remember myself, I'm with a spray doing graffiti and brush and Sharpies on the desk at school. I've been kicked out so many times because I was painting only and sketching instead of doing homework. I think I still even have my notebooks when I was 12 and 13 years old at school. Anyway, what was the other question?
Veterans and people who fought in the war may not know they have creative expression they could use to let go of their pain, and you obviously utilize that. What would your response be to people who are turning to the wrong things, dealing with the war and experiences they went through?
Art can be a great help, obviously. I don't think you got to be creative in order to create art. You can be you don't have to have a talent, and you don't have to be creative in order to create good art. This is the way I think. But you gotta like it. If you don't like to sketch, it's not gonna help you. So obviously it's worth to try. You gotta try it. You don't have to be good. That's what's most amazing about paintings. You can be horrible painter and paint, and there is always some people that will appreciate that. Compared to singing, if you're a bad singer, everybody will look at you're a bad singer. Right. Paintings, it's easy. It's easy because you can paint something, and there's always somebody out there that will like it, that will appreciate that. What's nice about painting is that it doesn't have to be realistic. There is no rules. There's different techniques, obviously, but you can just take a pen and close your eyes and do whatever you want and call it abstract. It's I think painting is easy. It's an easy solution, but look, you have to like it. you gotta like it. It can help a lot of veterans and a lot of people with depression. I think whoever is taking care of them is supposed to find what they like and maybe to express it that way. I don't know, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I think it will help.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a great response. Do you you said you've been painting ever since you were young. Do you have any sort of loss that you?
Yeah, I had a soldier. He was under my responsibility. His name was David Solomonov, and we had like an ambush that we were doing in Lebanon, and we got exposed. And David got shot. David got shot in his head, and he died. It was close. It was close to me. It was close to. It was 2 weeks before he finished the military. Yeah, and that was really maybe one of the biggest impact in my service. I was an officer that time. I was not a young soldier. Well, generally I was a young soldier, but it was after like already 3 years of military. I had more experience. I think what happened to David really changed me a lot. Funeral came. The thought about funeral came from the story about David.
How did his death change you specifically?
I was very I'm a risk taker. I take a lot of risks in my life, and this was the motto before David got killed, like to try everything, to do anything. And I still did, but it put me in place. Like I was kind of balanced since it happened to David. I was 21 years old. I was young. But before David died, I had 2 more friends that died that were also close to me, but it was not happen next to me. It's kind of different, you know, when you see your friend that is like his brain is pulled out of his head. It does something to you, you know. I don't know how it's really changed you and how could I be if David wasn't dying, you know. But I think I was more careful. I took life more serious. I realized that your life can be taken in half a second, even less than that.
Right.
David was about to finish the military. David was not supposed to be in this ambush, but I replaced someone who wanted to do something in that time. It happened, you know, it happened a lot in the army. That's fine. One replace each other. It's always happened. And you know, he said, "Yeah, of course, I'll go. I'll do it." You know, and he got the first shot in his head. 3 bullets, if I'm not mistaken, from Hezbollah sniper. I think it was 300 meter. Yeah, 300 meter from our ambush. Yeah.
Do you ever go back to that moment when you're painting?
Always, even when I'm not painting. I was, I think, the first one who got the message on the radio from the doctor that David is dead. Only a doctor can say if he's dead or alive. Obviously, we knew that. Like, we knew, but I got the real photo from a photographer in Afghanistan. His name is Michael Eaton. He took that picture. It's actually a famous picture. It was all over. It's a ranger who picked up an injured Afghanian kid. We've been in touch. I told him about my project, and I told him that I feel really related to the American soldiers, what they're going through, you know. And I wanted to paint something that is not Israeli soldiers, more like American, because I feel related. I've met some of them in Israel when I was a soldier. We've been trained together sometimes, and we show stories. I remember the stories they tell us. We told them that it was very similar stories, very similar conflict that you're going through with yourself while you're fighting in those places. And obviously I felt related to the picture, and he gave me that picture, let me paint that. It's a real photo that I got from him. I love that painting. I think the best part of the painting is it's his foot.
Yeah.
His feet, you see? Yeah. It's
Why this one? What's the symbolism? What's the personal symbolism for you?
Well, I live in America now. You know, I feel related to what they're going through. You know, it's the only painting that doesn't talk about the Israeli conflict. It talks about other countries' conflict that is very similar to Israel. Technically, I like the painting. I love the photo. I like the story around. He saved him. It shows humanity. That's what I'm trying to show. I'm trying to show that soldiers are not just a group of fighters that are going to kill people. Right. They have a mission, and their mission basically is to protect their country.
They're not robots.
Yeah, exactly. They're not robots. They're human. They have feelings. They you know, and that's exactly what I'm trying to show. And I think that photo is to the point.
Perfectly.
And it's one of the things you do with kids. What do you do with kids?
Yeah.
You play with kids, right? This is what you do. It doesn't matter if he's a kid of your enemy or a kid of your friend. He's a kid, right?
Right.
Like, you're not gonna act to the kid like he's an enemy. He's a kid. What he knows, you know. So you just start to play with him. I remember myself, like, every mission we had, every ambush, every operation we had, we used to take candies in our bags and little cars like we and weekends sometimes when we went home, we used to buy little cars for, like, just, you know, a few cents, you know, like in Israel, like it's not cent, it's shekel, but it's very cheap little cars and candies and stuff like that. We used to bring it to the operations. We put it in our bags, and when we used to go into their houses and arrest people, and sometimes we used to stay in their houses and doing the ambush from their houses. The kids are there, and that's their house. You know, it's a Israel property, obviously, but that's their house. The kids are there, so the kids come to you. They're like 4 years old. They come to you. You know, they're totally innocent. You know, so what do you do with them, right?
Yeah.
You just give them the candies, the little cars and the little toys, and if you have the time and you're on a break and you don't do what you're supposed to do, you just sit with them and play with them. You know. Some of us speak a little Arabic, so they could talk to them. Some of us don't. But what you usually do is what you do with every kid you see. Like you see right now a kid on the street, he comes to you, and he's doing that to you. He's like, okay, I'll play with him. So you take a ball and you start to play with him soccer. And I know they had exactly the same stories because, this kid, his father might be a big enemy, but that kid is like, what, 4 years old? What do he know? It's like, he doesn't know anything, just grew to it, he was born to it. It's not his fault.
All he knows.
Yeah, so you just play with him. It's a very related stories that we shared, and that's true. Yeah, the kids, you play a lot with the kids over there. There is a bunch of them all over.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That is beautiful. I love how he's like looking.
Can you
straight
explain the? I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Can you explain the No Apologies art? I remember seeing this on the website.
No Apologies is a sub project that I had through Unbreakable. It's mostly photos I took. I projected my art on humans, bodies.
Oh yeah.
It just was a creative sub project for Unbreakable. We ran a campaign, basically, but the campaign say no apologies for who am I? I've been prejudged many times because I'm Jewish and Israeli and I was in the military. A lot of people judge me. Oh, you killed kids. So, first of all, I'm not apologizing for what I do. Definitely not. I think I did a good thing. And it was an explanation for the reaction I got from Unbreakable, basically. I got a lot of positive reaction, a lot of negative reaction. Some people didn't like what I do, from all around the world, no apologies. Basically, it's a reaction to their reaction. It's like, well, you know what? This is what it is, and I don't think I owe any apologies to anyone, So that's pretty much what it is. That's the only painting I have about that. It's mostly photography.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there's something to be said about that because a lot of times people are afraid to tell what's most true within their hearts. They're afraid to express it for fear of the criticism that will inevitably happen anyway, especially if it's the truth. So yeah, what do you have to say about that to people who have produced art but are still too afraid to show it publicly?
I don't know. I totally understand that the public and people can affect on your creation. Obviously, you think what people will say about your art. You care about it. Sometimes you do care about that. I think when I create something about my past, I don't give a damn about what people think, about reaction. I have to say that if I do commission, if I do different art, I do care. Like I care what people will say. Unbreakable and No Apologies is not for likes, is not for comments. I don't care what people say. Even if it doesn't look good, even most of my art is not for people to buy. People not gonna buy something like that will put in their living room. Seriously, I didn't do it to sell. I didn't do it for likes. I didn't do it for people to like it. That's my true. I don't have a lot to say about it. Like, if you have something to say, just say it. Like, who gives?
Yeah. We're the fifth wave.
Yeah.
We don't block anything.
Yeah.
We're the fifth estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just putting it out there and being vulnerable and raw. That's what you did today.
Yeah, this is pretty much what it is. This is my truth. I don't think I need to hide anything. I have great stories to share and great art. If they don't like the story, it's fine. It's an opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that that's a reaction to another reaction.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow.
Did that get a reaction?
Some.
It looks almost like it really does look like a comic strip.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just showing an ambush towards an ambush. There is no feelings in that painting. It just this is what it is. Mm-hmm. I will never finish working on Unbreakable. Mm-hmm. It always comes back to me somehow, somewhere, somewhen, you know.
Yeah.
I'm working right now on different portraits. I do commission. I work on the portraits of different people that I know their life story, like friends and relatives, and the idea is basically to tell a story of someone that is kind of living his life in between two worlds. You know, and almost every person has two different worlds, like two different lives. You know, so that comes from obviously from a self feelings. I feel that sometimes I'm living in two different worlds. It's got nothing to do with Unbreakable. It's got nothing to do with my military so far. Maybe in the future I will realize it is got to do with that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm doing portraits right now.
Cool.
I really care about it. I like to paint people's faces.
Yeah.
Most those faces are not like beautiful people. I'll give you an example. Like a face like yours, it will be very hard for me to paint.
Really?
It's kind of too pretty for me. It's too beautiful. It's too perfect for me. You know, I need a beard. I need big eyebrows. I need like a mohawk.
Right.
I need like
grungy looking.
yeah, big nose, big lips, or something very weird in the face to make it more interesting to me. So
Interesting.
that's what I'm looking for. Weird faces. Just random people off the internet. It was because I like the face and I want to try a different technique. Today I care about a person. I care where he's come from. I care about his story.
Right.
For every little wrinkle, I want to know the story. I want to know where he's come from. So it's today I care more about painting people that I've met. Doesn't have to be a friend, doesn't have to be a relative, but it's someone that I've met before. I want to talk and feel that person when I'm painting.
Definition. What's your personal definition of love?
I don't know. It's a tough question.
It is a hard question.
Can you explain more? Give me an example.
Yeah. Everybody has different kind of ways of looking at what love means. So some people say love is, just having
Love to a person, love to you, or
love
anything.
Anything. It's your interpretation, which is why we get so many different answers. It's like, to you, what is the story of love about?
passion. If I love something, I have a passion to it. If I don't love something, I don't have a passion to it. So I think passion is my definition to love.
That's good.